When we talk playoffs, we always like to bring in the great Heather Dinich. Heather, thank you so much for the time. When we talk about wins that the committee looks at, did Cincinnati show enough in this win over Indiana to make a difference in your mind?
Well, look, you said it. Indiana's not a ranked team. And if you look at the rest of their schedule, Notre Dame is the only ranked opponent that they will face during the regular season as it stands right now. So, yes, great win. The selection committee is going to give them credit for going on the road and beating a respectable team. But at the end of the day, as you guys know, they put a lot of stock in how many teams did you beat that were ranked in the selection committee's top 25. Is that going to be enough? My gut says no, guys. It says New Year's Six Bowl, yes, possibility. That's more like it. But, you know, you guys were talking about parity earlier, and that works in Cincinnati's favor because as we sit here, everybody's wondering who the great teams are. And maybe by November, the end of November, Cincinnati can look like a top 4 team. But I'm telling you right now, going on the road against Indiana, that's not enough.
Heather, watching this football game today, the question lied for me, and I'm going to ask you, did Cincinnati win this football game or did Indiana actually lose this football game today?
B. I mean, if you rack up the list of mistakes that the Hoosiers made, I mean, it's longer than my arm. And I'm telling you, they had so many opportunities. There were so many different things that they weren't able to do or capitalize on. And it was just, if you're an Indiana fan, you're watching that and you think that that game was totally squandered. But you do have to give Cincinnati credit. I mean, that was a tough environment and they got it done. But at the end of the day, Indiana made more mistakes than Cincinnati made eye-popping plays.
And so, Heather, which I always think is interesting because one thing that the committee does take into account is who's on the field and who's not on the field. So, in your experience, because the Indiana defense changed drastically after a targeting penalty resulted in an ejection. So, when the committee looks at something like that, even though it's a penalty that took somebody off the field, how do they handle that?
They handle it the same as an injury, the same as they did last year when players were missing for COVID-19. Whatever the reason is that players are off the field, they consider it in essentially the same way. Now, if you look at what happened, I want to say that Cincinnati scored 10 points immediately almost after that targeting injection. So certainly played a factor, but at the end of the day, that wasn't the entire difference in that game. There was coaching involved. There were mistakes. You know, yes, it was a factor. Was it the only thing? Absolutely not.
And Heather, that play kind of bothered me because that was a third down, and Indiana was about to get off the field and get that football back. Before that, Cincinnati couldn't do anything offensively, but that sparked their little comeback in my eyes.
So,
no, you're right. And, you know, I was watching the guys, and I think it was Dusty who might have had the call for us, and he was saying that that's just a defender doing his job, and he was talking about how, you know, maybe there's the targeting 1, targeting 2 type thing in that situation, but it certainly changed the momentum of the game.
Quickly, Heather, before we let you go, right now we're looking at a 7-3 game for Clemson. You just mentioned the lack of ranked opponents on the schedule remaining for Cincinnati. How's the committee going to treat a Clemson team that's supposed to have cupcakes the rest of the way?
Look, the exact same way. Guys, I was at Ohio State last week when Oregon won, and as we sit here today, Oregon has a better win right now than anything Clemson is going to have on its schedule. And if you are looking at one-loss conference champs or teams with identical records, those are the kinds of wins that separate top 4 teams from others in the committee's eyes. We have seen that a great team can mask a lousy conference. I don't know if Clemson is a good enough team to mask just how atrocious the rest of the ACC is right now.
Heather, as always, nobody does it better, my friend. Thanks so much for hanging out with us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.